work that will be in the museum is a bit of a stage simulating an outdoor basketball court onto which a scrimmage game of sculptural objects will be staged. And the sculptures will be composed of a mixture of cardboard packaging and sort of popped out found imagery. So flat imagery turned into three-dimensional cutout objects. The subjects are primarily composed of scans of articles of clothing that are taken from either magazine sources or some online image sources. I'm primarily sourcing things from either images that I've collected for a while or ones that I come across on a daily basis. And the choice of them is kind of led by things that I'm particularly attracted to visually. And I'm trying to organize them on the sculptural sort of platforms to stand in or sort of mimic the orientation of a body. And so this idea that that objects that we choose to acquire, objects that we choose to sort of fashion our bodies with, in a sense perform maybe they sort of perform in advance of our own sort of personalities, or definitely contribute to our personality. So thinking about clothing as a kind of costume or uniform that maybe says something about us, or maybe projects something that we wish to project. Also thinking about pedestals for the display of art objects, but in my situation, treating these, having these pedestals stand in for the body. So then there's also, the body onto which these articles of clothing get exhibited. So that relationship between display in the art context and also display and sort of performing and being at play in the athletic context were this really interesting intersection for me. A while back I was moved by this piece of writing by Michael Taussig called "What Color is the Sacred?" And he talks about a kind of historical account of color in the context of colonizers and communities that were colonized. And he presents these two binaries, that which is chromophilic and chromophobic. And so that the European context was sort of had this kind of aversion to color, and viewed a kind of exaggerated and ostentatious presentation of color as being primitive. And so taking that idea and then looking at a kind of reserved and neutral palette associated with sort of European communities, and in their treatment of these, quote unquote primitive communities who have this embrace of color. Color is so sort of a part of and wrapped up in their lives. And so I'm taking that and sort of thinking about this sort of other means of staging it, which again, like basketball, sort of provides a framework for me to think about these two sides, that which is fully chromatic and that which is a bit more desaturated. But so the teams are divided into sort of have the appearance of one being consisting of full color images, the other consisting of black and white images or grayscaled images, but all the images are in fact made up of that same sort of CMYK matrix. So it's all of color, hence the title of the exhibition, even though they bear the appearance of being sort of in opposition.